Alright, Brent Porce here, topvelocity.net. Going to do a pitch analysis here for Keiran. Pair him up with one of my favorite Japanese pitchers, a Sao. Let's take Keiran, hope I'm saying your name right, into your leg lift. Take a Sao here into a leg lift. Okay, we talk about, it's becoming more conventional to come out of your leg lift or move into your leg lift by pushing your hips out. The problem is that is only going to have the effect we want if that is a result of your momentum shifting forward. If that's just kind of a pose, then it's not going to have the effect. That's the problem with most young pitchers, is they are just told to get in certain positions. So we have what's called either analysis paralysis or we have choreography. We need to understand that this is a athletic, ballistic movement. So it'd be like teaching a boxer to throw, get in these positions, because this is where good boxers get when they throw their hands. You're not going to be an effective boxer. Same thing with any power, aggressive sport. We have to really understand how that it's an event. It's not just a bunch of positions. We define it in a bunch of positions, but we've got to understand that those positions are the result of movement. So if you're not understanding that each position is a part of a one single movement, then we tend to get caught up doing things like this. So like Keiran here is pushing the butt out, but we don't see him leading with his momentum or shifting that momentum forward. If we drew a line off his back foot, we can see that even though his hips pushed out, his weight is still balanced up. So he's really not going anywhere, and it's more kind of like a pose. But if we look at a Sao here, if I can get a straight line going, we can see his head is more inside his drive leg. His force vector is starting to push inside. Pretty much everything's inside that drive line. So that's more of a significant shift. You don't really see, if we watch him, we don't really see him lifting up and pushing the butt out at all. We see him just lifting, moving forward into that lift, and rotating close in reaction to it. If we watch Keiran here, we can see he lifts up, and then we see this crouch down. That's really not going to do much for our stride, or building our stride speed. So just be aware of that. It needs to be more focused in your momentum leading as your lift leg and front side is closing off. Alright, so let's take you into your load. So now your lift leg is going, but still we don't see a lot of momentum being built up in your body. We see your legs swinging, but not a lot of momentum. So let's take your knee past your front hip. So now here's your knee past your front hip. I like to define this point as the point where you need to be in the load position, where you're loaded and ready to fire. If we take a Sao into that same position, notice he works hard to keep his lift leg back. He likes to extend it, but also see how his movement is the result of him moving forward and down at the same rate. We don't see him crouching down in the beginning and then getting out. We see him moving forward and down at the same rate. So when his left leg knee breaks his front hip, as we can see here, his force vector is perfectly linear. If we take Keiran in that same position, his force vector is very vertical. So the problem is if we're not in this linear position when the lift leg knee breaks the front hip, then what happens when the lift leg gets out? Unless we're capable, which some of us can, by throwing the leg out and doing pretty much a complete split, we're going to open this front foot up, and then we're going to put it down. And when that happens, if this guy hasn't built his power and accelerated our momentum into front foot strike, then we're done, because it's not going to happen after we put this foot down. Okay, so you can see here that Asao has done a great job to get in that position. So Keiran is going to have to continue to reach out, and then he's going to have to extend out prematurely with the lift leg, and by the time it gets in a linear position like Asao here, the front foot is open. That means the knee's going to start turning down, and the problem is we already have extension, so we're not going to be able to drive or extend harder when we already have extension in the leg. We have to have flexion, knee flexion, dorsiflexion, for us to then move into an explosive triple extension. Alright, so as you can see, like I said, he's just going to open up and then put down. And there's that knee. Look how that knee turns down, and that foot pops up. And that leg is not driving. It's just passive. It's being drug behind in the front foot strike. Notice what the high velocity pitcher does. As he opens the front foot, he launches and drives through triple extension of the drive leg. Boom. And at front foot strike, he stabilizes to slam the hips open while the shoulders stay closed. Look how quick that movement is there. And notice how during that movement, through triple extension before front foot strike, notice how the hips rotate into front foot strike. They start almost completely opening before the front foot lands. That's in reaction to the back drive, or the drive of the back leg. Because for us to get to front foot strike with our hips completely open, we have to have done it through an extension, through a drive. Because if not, then we have what Keiran has here. We have the back hip being pulled back. In the case of Asao, we have the back hip being driven around. So this hip is being pulled down from the weight of the back leg, being dragged along. This hip is being pushed forward with the extension of the drive of the back leg in reaction to the opening of the front foot. And we know studies have proved that high velocity pitchers like we see here, they get hips open earlier and faster at front foot strike, and also results in more hip to shoulder separation, which we know is 80% of a pitcher's potential velocity. So we can measure his hip to shoulder separation here. We can see he's at a good 50 to 60 degrees of separation. If we look at Keiran here at front foot, boom, he lands, hips aren't open. We can't measure hip to shoulder separation until the hips open, so we got to get his hips open like they are with Asao. But you'll see that if you don't open the hips at front foot strike, it happens so slowly when your front foot is down, to where when your hips finally come around like they do here, your arm or shoulders are already in sync with it. If you can see the difference here in the high velocity pitcher, low velocity pitchers, we have optimal hip to shoulder separation, very poor hip to shoulder separation. When we have a poor, stride in the front foot, creating hip rotation, optimal hip to shoulder separation, then we don't create torque in the body, which leads to a force multiplier, meaning these shoulders will multiply the forces through the rotation of the hips and accelerate the speeds of the hips as the arm pulls back into optimal external rotation. To allow that to happen as well, that front leg stays stable, stays extended. You can see when the shoulders and hips rotate together, you don't have force multiplying from the stride. So you don't get as much external rotation, as much forward trunk tilt as you do in the high velocity pitcher. So that means you're still less coiled up. And another force multiplier is in this arm as it pulls back, which is the final elastic event that launches the ball forward. And you just move in. If you can move into front leg extension like that, which is insane, that makes it converts even more of that power into the ball. So you can see here the high velocity pitcher is more forward, more extended, less extended, more vertical, later internal rotation. So it just really comes back to Keiran, you just learning how to move earlier and get this force vector linear. And then when you get this force vector linear, it's how do you triple extend or develop the power to drive the hip through before the shoulders. Now we don't do it in that order. In the 3x pitch velocity program, which I believe you're in, you are learning how to build the power and develop the gun through the drive leg. The point is if we can develop the explosive power through the legs and learn how to turn that into hip rotation through triple extension before front foot strike, then we're going to create optimal hip-shoulder separation. Once we do that, then we can learn how to get to this linear position. Then we can learn how to ultimately start hip rotation by opening the front foot and then powering it through, which we know how to at that point by triple extension. So we start in the 3X Pitch Velocity program, we start at front foot strike and we master triple extension, hip to shoulder separation. Triple extension, hip to shoulder separation. You just constantly perfect that. Then as you move into the preseason programs, we work on that first move, starting to move earlier, working to get down to that linear position as quickly as we can. So you can see how all you have to do is learn how to develop the explosive power through the drive leg in sync with the opening of the front foot to take that stride power into hip rotation. Once we can do that, that's the connection to the upper kinetic chain and to building torque in the body and then taking advantage of the stretch shortening cycle, the force multipliers, all those things that high velocity pitchers do really well. So I hope this analysis is helping. If you have any specific questions to the programs, what you're going through, let me know. But you just need to focus on. It's a tough learning curve. It's called the 3x threshold. Once you can learn how to overcome the 3x threshold, everything starts to happen. If you want to learn more about that, I suggest, if you're ready to take it to that level, if you've really gotten into the 3x Pitch Velocity program, go into the 3x Pitching Mechanics Guide and really learn it at a high level. And ultimately that'll show you where you need to be. But learning is the first step. Applying it is really the most important thing, and then that's just plugging away and really putting everything you got into it each day just to get closer to your velocity goals. So I hope this video helps, and please let me know if you have any questions.